The Serving Up Discipleship podcast is to help our audience understand the sacred work of service missionaries and why service missions are spiritually transformative and fulfilling. It is under the direction of senior social media service advisors.
All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to yet another episode of Serving Up Discipleship. I am Elder Price, and I will be your host. And of course, we've got our sister Wait, co-host here. And then today we are joined by a special guest, Elder Griffith. So welcome.
Hi.
Hello. We're super excited to have him on today and to talk about service missions and what they are. So the first thing that we just want to ask for you, Elder Griffith, is if you could just introduce yourself. Just let us know who you are and where you're from. And
So I'm Elder Griffith. I am a service missionary. I've been serving for about 20 months. I am from St. George, Utah. I've been living here my whole life, and yeah.
All right. I love it.
That's awesome. So what is your schedule like, and has it changed since you started?
I've changed it like all the time. It's quite funny. It's like it's really interesting about service mission. Like you have all these options, and like once in a while you're like, okay, this assignment's like it's all right, but I want to try other ones. It's like going to an ice cream shop and you get to taste all these samples and then you get to choose which one's your favorite, and I really like that about the mission. But yeah, I have at least 2 assignments a day, and some days I have one so I could like either do laundry or do stuff at my house and help around at the house. But yeah,
I love it. Yeah.
that's what most of my schedule's like.
Gotcha. Do you serve at like I'm trying to think of sites in St. George. Is there a Bishop Storehouse you serve at down there, and like the temple, and what are some of those?
I've served at I think almost every site besides the historic sites because I'm not really good at memorizing stuff and I'm scared of tours. So yeah. So I've served at the Bishop Storehouse, the DI, the soup kitchen, the temple. I have to say the temple is one of my favorite because I mean it's the temple. Like it's amazing and I love being in there. And I'm trying to think of what else. We've been to pantries out in like Arizona, and yeah, there's a lot of like pantries and like soup kitchens and stuff like that. Sorry.
Good.
I'm trying to think what else. Family Search. That's one's pretty fun, like because you get to like help the old people, and then like youth come in, you get to help them too. So yeah,
That's awesome.
That's awesome.
and those are some cool ones. Yeah.
So I just got to ask, St. George is lucky enough to have 2 temples. Which one are you given the privilege to serve at?
I've been given the privilege of serving at both, but I've been reassigned to the Red Cliffs Temple, it's been awesome. It's been a little tricky because everyone's a new temple worker, so we're all kind of like figuring out, and yeah, but it's like you still feel the spirit, and we're still like doing the Lord's work, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
Yeah. wonderful.
I loved going through the Red Cliffs Temple. It's very pretty. So
Very
that's
beautiful.
that's awesome that you get to work there. Our next kind of question goes along with a topic of kind of talents and how you use it. But this first one that we wanted to ask is actually about music. So I wanted to ask, why do you think music can help people come closer to Christ?
I don't know. I think that's like quite an interesting thing. I don't listen to music a lot, but I've tried. I lately have been listening like Christian music and like music that our leaders have asked us, and it's quite interesting because like I either go like when I go on exercise, I listen to like different music. But one time I went to the gym and I was like, you know what, I should just try listening to like Christian music. And honestly, it's really weird. It's like it still motivated me, and it wasn't like I don't know. It was really interesting. It's like you can listen to it with everything, like in the car, on the road. It's entertaining and it's fun, and and you feel the spirit too. It's not like regular music where like you feel other emotions. It's really interesting thing. So
Yeah.
that's what I like. I don't know. Yeah, that's yeah.
I like that too. It has the same kind of feeling, like you said, it brings the spirit, but each song is like different and it can be upbeat or it can be, you know, reverent for a lack
Hmm.
of a better word. And but it
Hmm.
all has the same purpose and that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, can I jump in real
yeah,
quick and
go
say everything?
ahead. Go ahead.
Awesome. Yeah. So with music, I think this is interesting too, because granted, if we're talking like talents, I don't have a musical talent at all. Right. I'm just terrible at music. But I love listening to music. Music is very powerful, I feel like. And I mean there's like those research and those studies that show when you are listening to that type of music that's kind of reverent and quiet, but also just peaceful, it almost like helps your mind think better. It helps you have your mind cleared. And so I love, listening to the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square, before I go to the temple or something, because it just opens my mind to that the spiritual nature of the temple. And then I always feel like I have a better experience in the temple than if I didn't. And so that music can really provide an opportunity to come closer in that sense of being more open to those spiritual experiences that the Lord is trying to give you, but that you might not hear otherwise. So it's interesting. Music's an interesting topic.
Yeah. So, we a lot of the time service missions are tailored to you and what you like to do, in your talents. How have you seen your talents help the Lord's work as you have served?
Um, I think I don't know. I don't feel like I have talents, but I feel like that's everyone. So, but I think I'm really good at communicating and just having like talking with people and like just having like conversations. So like, and I really one of the specialist things that I like doing is working in the baptistry because I love watching the youth being baptized and then also baptizing people. That's fun, and it's a very spiritual moment. And I also love just the baptistry. It's like you get to work with the youth and you get to see the work and like the awesome thing is like if you're like you see the cards and you've seen how long they've been waiting and like you get to see that the youth or the person who's getting baptized is doing that on the other side for the person on the other side, and it's just really neat, and I really like it, and yeah,
Yeah.
that's what that's one of my favorite assignments. So I was like, I should share that.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, we love that. We love hearing about that. That's great. And I'm sure that you have a real talent for working in the baptistry. I bet you that's a talent that you have. Um, and it's so true. It's so true. I love working in the baptistry too. That's the only thing I can do right now because of the surgery. So I can't do ordinance work in the temple right now, but I love working in the baptistry and seeing all the youth come in and one of the coolest things too is I get to see their talents, right? And their abilities, which is really sweet as well, and see how that plays out. So I'm right there with you. I love it. Love it. Thank you for sharing that. Um, okay. I think it's time, Sister Wade. Is it time?
Wow, time flies when you're having fun.
It is. It does. All right. This next segment, Elder Griffith, we call it the question of the week. This is our like first segment, I guess. Basically, we're going to ask a commonly asked question to a service missionary, one that we get quite often, and we'll just kind of all take turns answering it. We'll go ahead and just start with you. But the question is, do service missionaries get free time?
That's tricky in my opinion because like there's moments where like there's things you need to do. Like we have like a schedule like Protestant missionaries do, but like we also got those free moments. But it's like it's your choice of like how you're going to use it. Like and what that's one of my struggles I think on like for me is like those free times because like you don't know what to do, but like I think honestly, yeah, I those are quite interesting. Yeah, we do, but like we gotta be careful what we do in that free time and like watch what's not out of being a missionary and like what's good for being like as a missionary, like you shouldn't go hang out with your friends and party, but like you could probably like I don't know play a game or something. It's really tricky. It's like yeah, I don't know. I have free time. Yeah, I have free time, but I tried to do all the things they've asked us to do first companion study, personal study, and then yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's perfect. In terms of the free time, there's the scripture that says, "Don't run faster than you are able," right? So there needs to be some of that downtime and some of that recuperation time, as sometimes I like to call it. And so, yeah, service missionaries do have free time. It's more referred to as agency hours or agency time, and that kind of is interesting to think about, kind of like you were saying, because it's a big gray area, right? I mean, it's like, what
Mhm.
do I do? Is this allowed? Is this not allowed? What's the best choice? And so that's where one of my favorite things about the service mission comes into play is discipline, right? I think that is one of the key points of a service mission is discipline. Because,
Mhm.
I love playing spike ball. I'm a huge spike ball fan. I love playing it. I love watching it, right? And when I have an agency hour time or something, a couple hours, I'm like, all right, I haven't read my scriptures yet, but spike ball's right there. It's tough. It's tough, right? And so you just have to use that discipline. You gotta build up that resilience to say, you know what, I'm on the mission. I'm dedicating this time to the Lord. I should go study. And then of course, every time I do that, every time I actually do go and study, instead of picking another choice, it blesses my life tenfold, and it's a wonderful experience. So yeah, agency hours is a tricky one, that's for sure. But it's very important, and it's a helpful thing to help you learn how to discipline your life, and obviously that's going to help you for the rest of your life as well. So I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, so agency time is a very important time in my life and on my mission, just because yes, we are supposed to learn discipline and it's going to help us throughout our lives. But I get really tired and I get kind of worn out really easily. So, um, and it's also a time for me to pursue my hobbies that, take a little time. Or our agency is a time dedicated to recreational activities with our friends or with our family. And so it's very helpful for me, and I'm sure everyone else, to have that time dedicated to our own interests, um, and to take that time to, rest. Don't run as faster than you can. So yeah, we are allowed agency time, and that is fit into our schedule, so that it doesn't take away fully from the mission, and that we can learn to balance work life with, personal life, if that makes sense. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I was just wondering, if I could say something real quick. With one of the most interesting things that recently, like in agency time, I used to watch TV or do something, but recently the missionaries, we've been getting together like on certain nights, and it's like all the elders, and like we just like do games or like play volleyball or something at the institute. And I think that's like a really important way we could do agency time, is just hanging out with other elders and like I don't know, yeah. And I think yeah, that's what most of my agency time things doing at night is usually going out with them and hanging out and just like yeah.
That's awesome.
So
I bet you that you're really close with all those missionaries too now, right? Because you're
yeah,
building.
yeah, yeah, we're close.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's wonderful. I think that's a great way to use
Mhm,
agency time. You're building that relationship, especially with those that you
mhm,
serve with, right? And then you're gonna be able to
mhm,
work better with them at your service sites.
mhm.
So I think that's wonderful. That's a great example. Thanks for sharing that.
I agree. Yeah. I'm very close with all the sisters in my zone. So, and that's because we, hang out outside of our service site. And that just helps us get along better, and creates, you know, a very good zone. Um, and we all trust each other. So that's also important. I love that. Um, so kind of how has um how has the Lord blessed you throughout your service mission? You've been out 20 months. How have you been able to see the blessings in your life?
I've seen it's hard, honestly. I like it's hard for me sometimes to see blessings, but I have seen them. One of the things I've seen is like I've learned how this is but like sometimes I struggle with people, but I've learned to be more patient and more kind and open up. And that's the thing. And then I've learned how to like, I don't know, stay strong and get through the process, get through the assignment. Cause sometimes you're just like, dude, I'm done. I can't do this. But like, you gotta keep going. And that's what I try to do. And like, that's what I've learned is to keep on going through it, staying strong. And I've also learned a lot. I wasn't the smartest and like most known in the gospel, but I've learned a lot and like I grew my testimony. And yeah, and I've also like made friends and I've learned how the relationships and how to build with leaders and being a leader.
I love that. It's really interesting because as we talked about talents before, right? And then we're talking about how the Lord has blessed you in your service. It's cool to see the service mission because it really is kind of tailored to your interests and your talents. And the Lord uses that and blesses you by growing those talents, by growing those interests that you have. And so it's just really it's I'm trying to figure out how to really put this, but it's interesting to see how he knows he's got the overall image, right? He's got the whole picture. And he knows where he wants you to be at the end of your mission, and he knows exactly how to get you there. You just got to follow that step, right? So, and that's obviously one of the hardest parts of the mission too, is trying to follow him, and do exactly what he needs you to do. And but as you do that, like we said, that's how he blesses you. So that's perfect. Thank you, Elder Griffith. Um, our next question for you that we've got is why do you think it's important for us to do service along with teaching?
That's a good question. Honestly, I haven't really teach because I'm kind of scared of teaching people because I don't feel like I'm great. I don't know. I wouldn't be good at teaching people, but that's just me. Yeah, so and like I've realized like I was offered it and my leader suggested it, but I was like, no, I've been kind of called to like serve. But I see the other service missionaries being able to teach and it's really strengthening them. And I've seen new missionaries coming in too, and missionaries who came home and like they're struggling at first, but like they got the familiarity of like going to the class and being able to go out and go on outings with missionaries and being able to teach, and it really brought them back into like thinking, oh, I can go through this mission and get through it. But yeah, like, and I sometimes go to the class and like I'll watch, but yeah, but I think it really grows the missionaries' testimony, and also like you get to teach and you get to learn how to teach. You learn life skills and like how to interact, and I think it's really great that they have that as an opportunity for some missionaries because there's some missionaries who are really wanting to try to pursue that and be like that, and then there's some missionaries who will help them grow and become a better person and a long life disciple. So yeah.
I like that. It's kind of to kind of go along with that. It's, the service mission is tailored to us. So yeah, teaching missionaries um who had to come home for, various reasons, they can also teach as well. And that's something new to the service mission. Um, I I like that. That's awesome. Well, just to close, would you
Can
would you
sorry, can
oh
I say
go
one
yeah,
thing?
go ahead. Yeah,
I just wanted to ask, I might throw a curveball too, because that's just kind of my thing.
this is what that is.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to ask, or I just wanted to kind of mention too that I had an experience when I was teaching some youth, I guess, primary age kids about missions and service missions. And one of the things that I like to highlight for them is I drew kind of a big box. And I was like, okay, in this box, the proselyting missionaries, their main focus is teaching. Then I drew a smaller box underneath. I said service, right? Their main focus is to teach people, but they still do service. The service mission is the exact opposite. We do a lot of service. Our main focus is to serve, right? And we have a smaller focus of teaching because we still teach, right? It's not necessarily when I say teaching, it doesn't mean that we're going to go teach investigators. I'm talking teaching ourselves, teaching those that we serve with, helping those that we serve in general. So teaching them as own councils, we teach each other, things like that. But yes, there are opportunities for us to go proselyte as well, and go and teach investigators. And for them, there's opportunities to do service. not just service for investigators and things like that, but service to each other, service to those that they serve with, right? And so there's just those different focuses. But when you combine both of those, teaching and service, and you have two set groups with their main focus of teaching and main focus of service, when they come together, that's where you make that's where your best opportunities come from, right? When you can have an investigator that's learning through them being taught and through a missionary serving them, that's a perfect equation right there. And so that was just one way that I love to teach the youth about that is this is they're the same. They're the same. They're just two branches of the same tree. And so yeah, teaching is very powerful, and service is very powerful, and I love both of them. So I just wanted to throw that in. But I also have one question. Sorry. I just wanted to ask you, Elder Griffith. Well, you've been out for 20 months, is that right? That's what you said. What is some advice that you would give to a potential service missionary or someone who's transferring from a proselyting missionary to a service missionary? What's something you'd say to them?
There's a lot, but I'll try to shorten it. But what I think for proselyte missionaries, if they're coming back, it's like they need to like know that it's going to be hard at first because you're coming to a place where like you got 2 feet in both worlds. Like you're part of like home life and missionary life, and it's like you got to. It'll be hard at first, but if you lean on your leaders and you lean on God, and you figure things out, and you just follow your prompting in your heart, things will go well, and just trust in like the process. And it's going to be hard at first, but through the end it's like you'll learn a lot and you'll get through it, and your testimony will grow strong and you'll grow strong. And yeah, and then for people who are starting service missionaries, it's like, I mean, like for real, like we were all down at first, but in the end, like you'll grow and you'll be happy and you'll eventually enjoy it if you look in the good. But if you still looking at the negative, it's like you're just not going to have that much like good growing and great time. Like that was me at first, but I started looking at the good, and it's been the best 20 months so far in my life, and I've really enjoyed it. I've had trials, but like in life, that's what we're here for. Like we are learning and trying to become like Christ, and we got trials. And I'm very thankful for this opportunity because I know people who weren't able to have this opportunity, and yeah, so I think you should really appreciate it. And if you feel like it's right for you, then you pursue it. But yeah, I'd suggest that to both proselyte missionaries coming home and people starting service missions.
Thank you. It's people don't realize that missions or service missions are hard as well. So especially with the starting out, it's with anything, honestly, the transition with change and stuff like that, it's always really hard, but you'll eventually learn to, trust in the Lord, the plan that he has for you. So that's awesome. Joe, well, just to end, we would like to ask you if you would share your testimony.
Yeah, I'll do that. I would just like to say that I'm thankful for being able to serve a mission and learning how to grow and grow my testimony. And I know this church is true, and I know that everything I've learned and everything that we're taught in the gospel is true. And I'm thankful for the opportunities and choosing this path and learning and growing. And I hope that everyone knows that we should all love what all he has given us. And I know this church is true, and I say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. So.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Elder Griffith, for joining us today and talking about the service mission and the experiences you've had. And of course, thank you for sharing your testimony and that powerful witness. We truly appreciate you taking the time. And that's it for this podcast. So thank you so much. And until next time, everyone, let's serve up some discipleship.
Thank you for taking the time to see or hear this podcast. Your hosts were Sister Wade and Elder Price. Your editor is me, Elder Gibby. If you want to see clips from the show or other service mission related content, please look for the Hands of the Lord Facebook page. If you want to ask your questions about service missionaries, email us at servingupdiscipleship@gmail.com. Thanks again for thinking of us, and we'll see you next time.